got some of my second-hand books out, which I've been reading just lately. LMS 150 years of the LMS? How can that be, I hear you saying? The LMS started in 1923 and ended in 1948. That's only 25 years. Well, what this book is celebrating is 150 years since 1830, which was the opening of the Manchester to Liverpool Railway. Now, that particular railway company was absorbed eventually into the LMS. So the oldest constituent company of the LMS was 150 years old in 1980. So I guess this book was printed in 1980. Well, we've got one as well. We've got one for the LNER. We've got one for the Great Western Railway. So we're covering the big four. Except, done it again. Sorry, Southern Railway. A big blank space there where there should be a book about the Southern Railway. Oh dear. Well, look at all the constituent companies that went into the build-up of the LMS. Now you'll notice there's two big subdivisions here. We've got the London and North Western Railway. This was the company which included Liverpool and Manchester Railway. And we've the Midland Railway. Now this map here doesn't mention any of the Scottish companies. I'm thinking that's because it's described in the text and the genealogy is not as complicated, so it doesn't need a diagram. Well, this is the chapter that's attracted my attention today. There is the man, Sir William Stanier. So we're going to be looking at LMS, locomotive development, today. When the LMS came into being in 1923, it inherited a lot of old stock, 10,000 locomotives, most of which were very old, some of which were very, very old, and most of which were quite small as well. When the companies all merged in 1923, it was the Midland Railway which politically had the most power within the LMS, and their locomotive management plan was to use small locomotives. If you needed more power, you just used more locomotives instead of having larger locomotives or locomotives designed to be task specific. So there were a lot of locomotives like this one, this 440 Midland compound, LMS number 1000. Actually came from the Midland Railway. It was built in 1912. But this was fairly typical of what we had at the start. So the LMS decided eventually to operate a scrap and build plan. The scrapping was good, but the building wasn't terrifically successful, thanks to the guidance of a guy named J.E. Anderson, who was still a Midland Railway guy and liked small locomotives. One of the first attempts they had at building a task-specific locomotive was the mixed traffic mogul, which we can see here, which became known as the Horwich Crab. designed initially by George Hughes and finished off and developed to its completion by Fowler. And that first appeared in 1927. In the mid-20s, the LMS borrowed Launceston Castle from the Great Western Railway, which was a 460, to see how it would perform on the big hills like Shap and Beatock on the run from Euston to Scotland. And it so impressed the LMS guys, they wanted to buy one. And the GWR said no. So the LMS said, well, at least lend us the drawing, the plans, so we can build our own. And the GWR said no. So they went ahead and built this, which turned out to be a very successful 460. It's the Royal Scot class. We're looking here at 6106 Gordon Highlander. First came out in 1927. Well, the LMS got nowhere with their negotiations with the Great Western Railway, so they headhunted Stanier, who was the assistant of Collins at the Great Western Railway, brought him to the LMS and said, design us a 460 express loco. So here came the Jubilee, which we can see here, 1934. Stanier came after Anderson, so the days of the small loco thinking in the LMS have gone. We're now going to start building some beasts. Well, those are the 4 locos for today. There will be more, but let's watch these running now.